Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
Welcome. This is the Sports Trapp Podcast, and my name is John Trapp. As always, my man, Christopher C. Rodriguez. How you doing, sir?
What it do?
H-Town stand up for your one and only on the ones and twos, Mr. Khoa.
What up?
Actually, I like to call him, I don't know, Khoa Timberlake. I saw him dancing.
Timberlake.
So I got to see him dance this weekend.
Oh, no.
That boy was on fire. I gotta say, he did good. He did
Break
good.
it
I
down.
was very proud. I was screaming his name. I don't know if you heard me, but I was screaming your name. I was like, Khoa, you sexy motherfucker.
Appreciate you coming out and supporting, bro.
Hey, man, sorry I couldn't be there.
All
But,
good.
man, yeah, Chris was telling me you got some moves, man.
It's been a long time. It's been 8 years since I've been on stage. So
How'd it feel?
It was cool, man.
You look good.
It went by super fast. You know, it's one
Nah.
of those where you just black out. It just happens. You know, when
You look good in for someone who has tried to take a class of dance before and realized this is the hardest shit ever. You know, learning choreography, especially in a set that big, that's impressive, man.
Yeah, man.
You're
I
super
think it's
talented.
a lot harder than what people think.
Hell yeah.
Choreography is, and then you got the beats that you got to be on. You could get the moves down, but if it's off and you're off from everybody else,
Yeah.
you're like a sore thumb.
Musicality is a very, very important thing. If you don't have musicality, knowing the moves doesn't matter.
That's
You did a
true.
good job,
That's
man,
true.
Khoa. I was very
appreciate
proud
it.
of you, man.
I'm no Josh Cruz, but you know, I do what I can.
Damn.
Yeah, so that was a highlight in Houston, and that's probably about the only highlight that we had this week for as far as H-Town is concerned. So, you know, of course,
Bring us the bad news, John.
the Texans didn't make the playoffs, but they're making some moves. They're making some moves already. Romeo Cornell is, he apparently is no longer with a job. I want to see what ends up happening to him, but I think he may not. I think it's his last tenure. He might retire from this.
So he was the scapegoat for the season, pretty much.
I think this is the way it's shaping out to be.
Yeah, it sounds like what's happening. I think also too the fact that I think it's telling that Kyle McNair hasn't even come out and make a statement. Usually owners, when they've had a season like this, will at least come out and talk about, like, you know, make a statement for the team. He's been quiet. He's not said anything. I do think, though, that the promoting Anthony Weaver to defensive coordinator actually might be a smart decision. It might actually be the future coach
Hey, man.
of the Houston
Hey, man.
Texans.
And of course,
We can only hope.
we all know and we all have heard the things that have come out and been said about the Houston Astros. And now we've gotten a week to think about it. So, you know, new conversations have been had, new happenings. Alex Cora, ex-bench coach of the Houston Astros, and now or no longer head coach, or excuse me, the manager of the championship 2018 Boston Red Sox, was also let go along with Hinch and Jeff Lunau. But, you know, Carlos Beltran just got a job, and who was in the report of who was basically the mastermind of all this cheating and the scandal. He had just got a job with the New York Mets, and he was also let go, or he resigned, but let go. And Chris, I know you have a couple opinions, so I want to get your opinion a little later on. But you know, these days in Houston have been kind of like the weather has been this past week, because not only do the Astros, not only do the Texans look bad, but the Houston Rockets, who I thought we could all find refuge in, have just lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
James Harden has been probably in the worst stunts and stints as a Houston Rockets so far in his career, especially the last game versus the Oklahoma City Thunder and Chris Paul, of all people. Him going 1 for 17 from the 3-point line. That was a bad showing, I guess, to say the least. I'm trying to find words to not be so harsh, but That being said, Chris, can we find a way to get out this hole? I think because, man, Houston, the most redundant term that all Houstonians have always have heard. Houston, we have a problem.
That's more than just a problem. I honestly say Houston, they need to check their pulse. Houston fans, check your blood pressure, because I'm 30, about to be 38 years old, and this has to be the worst time in the history of Houston sports to be a Houston fan. It is bad across the board. You can't really look at the Texans next year because we know that things are probably going to be that much harder for them, especially with no draft picks. The Astros, regardless, and we'll get more into that in a few minutes, are cheaters. It's as simple as that. And, I think that I'm at a point right now where I sent you a message that it's time to break the Rockets up. It's not working, and I have reasons why it's not working. But right now, James Harden is proving all the doubters correct, that he doesn't have the leadership skills or the mindset to take a team to the championship. He's proven that, and I have other reasons behind that as well. I feel that way.
Right. Those are strong words, Chris, because I really want to delve into that. So, now, topic at hand. We just saw the Houston Astros do their Fan Fest. Now, here's my thing about the Houston Astros and them going along with the Fan Fest, which is no problem. But you also had cameras in front of the faces of Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve, who were both implicated, not just in the report, but implicated as well as other rumors coming out, such as the Band-Aid sensors on. But is the punishment enough, or should their title be taken away? And are the Astros diligent in apologizing for what they did? Because at some point, we all have to just say, hey, we were at fault, we got caught. So as a Houston fan, are you back on the boat? Are you back on the wagon? Are you back as being a 100% fan, regardless of your morals or your values? Are you a Houston Astros fan any longer?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
It should be determined. I told you last week that I was really, really disappointed in, the show and my response to the Astros and the punishment. I kind of felt like I fell into the same mentality that a lot of Houston Astros fans had. It was like, oh yeah, we got caught cheating. Why did we have to cheat? But hey, guess what? Everybody else is doing it, and don't worry, because we're gonna just prove ourselves that we're better than this. But then later on down the road, I actually got a chance to actually read the full report, and we finished the show around 3:00 in the morning. I didn't go to bed after that. I read the report and I was up the whole day. I was really bothered and profoundly disappointed because it clearly states that all of our position players, that includes the Altuves, the Bregmans, the Correas, the Springers, were utilizing this method to get the edge on pitchers. They knew it was wrong. They were worried about other teams finding out. At one point, they even said that if Hinch would have told them to stop, they would have done it. And when you hear these kind of statements, it just brings you to a place like, these are grown men. You don't need another grown man to tell you something's wrong to know what's wrong. If you already know, man, I hope the other teams don't find out about this. This is messed up. Then why are you continuously doing it? And to see that Luno and Hinch got fired, but these players didn't get any type of punishment. What makes it worse for me as a fan is the fact that we still have not heard an apology from the players. I felt like not only did you taint one of the few championships that we have for the city of Houston, and we all know as Houston fans, we're always being mocked and we're always being made fun of. We're always being compared to the other, winning franchises, whether it's NFL, MLB, NBA. I mean, they even try to put an asterisk on the Houston Rockets for winning a championship because Michael Jordan was retired. We never get that respect. So the one championship that we feel like we overcame and we went through the gauntlet of beating the most storied franchises in Major League Baseball, the Dodgers, the Yankees, and of course then the Red Sox, or the other way around. The point being is that it felt like this was our first time that we proved to the world that we are champions. This is a championship city.
You brought that up, and I wanted to kind of ask you this. Okay, so one, us being a team that's always had that when we win something, as Houston teams are concerned, there's always like some Jordan wasn't there, but you know you didn't do this, and then do you feel like now that we did do it with the Astros and we got that respect, do you feel like they're unapologetic because they've gotten to the point where their skin is so thick that they won't allow anybody to come in and try to doubt their talent, doubt their actual championship they really feel like they put their heart and soul into? Because I know if somebody's always criticizing me, because the Houston Astros have been one of the biggest and most criticized teams that I can remember, not only just by, people not believing in us, but the rumors have been out there for a while. It's not something that we just, came up to this year. We got caught. We just had somebody that was in the dugout with us come out and say what we did specifically. So don't you think that a little bit of them not apologizing for doing what they did is just them having that hardened skin and deflecting, basically?
I mean, you can see it that way. I just think that's part of the ego as an athlete.
Right.
I mean, even athletes who are caught with that we obviously know we're doing steroids will defend it all the way to the end because they don't want something like that to taint their athleticism.
So apologizing would allow people to criticize and allow them to feel like their championship's tainted.
But again, it's not about what other people feel outside of Houston. You're a representation of the city. Right. Not only were the 2017 Astros a representation of Houston, but they were also a representation of the hope and inspiration, and most importantly, this love that we all shared after Harvey hit Houston. This was deeper than any other thing.
Right.
So for the Astros to be unapologetic, you know what? You don't need to apologize to the media, but you do need to come out and tell Houston Astros fans, we're sorry for letting the city down. We're sorry for embarrassing you. Because guess what? At the end of the day, all of us who wear Astros merchandise, the Houston Astros are not the only ones that are going to get grief and are going to have to constantly defend the 2017 championship. We're going to have to do that for the rest of our lives.
Right.
It's written in stone now.
So, but here's the thing: you're asking somebody as an organization, and Khoa, maybe you can help me out with this. But okay, what I really liked about Jim Crane was he came out, and unfortunately, I'll never call for anybody's head, but he came out and he fired AJ Hinch. He came out and he fired Jeff Luhnow because that was his apology, right?
But he never apologized.
Right, exactly. But hold on. He came out without anybody having to tell him anything. But when the stuff went down during the playoffs with the assistant GM calling out somebody else about being I think they were specifically indirectly being homophobic or said something that was offensive to the reporter, right? They backed the reporter first and then came out and apologized. They were not apologetic up front. So you're asking an organization to do something that's really not in their nature, to have those. They went ahead and had the fan fest and then pushed the players out without being apologetic.
I mean, but I think that fits. That this is why it's so hard as an Astro fan. You're asking me, am I going to come around and support the Astros? To me, them not coming out and apologizing, especially when they embarrass the city, to me, is telling. You go back and you just look at all these little certain situations that's happened leading up to all this. Even when the assistant GM was yelling at that reporter who for domestic violence.
Oh, that was what it was. I'm sorry.
When you look at these situations and you see how this team has never gone about at least apologizing and getting in front of it. To me, it's just telling that the moral compass of the Houston Astros is not where we need it to be and not where we want it to be as fans. And, you know, at this point right now, you're either a fan you're okay with the 2017 championship because, you know, like most people, even if you cheated, you still got to hit the ball. That's true. But that was just it. The Astros were talented enough where they didn't have to cheat. And if you are going to cheat, like, accountability is the most important thing that's going to rectify the situation is accountability. And no one's really taking accountability from a player standpoint. Yeah. Like, and I think that's, you know, and here's the crazy thing about it, John, is that, like, you know, I was telling you that according to the MLB.com, Allison Footer, the expected apology comes in response to criticism that was hurled at players for not addressing the subject in a more contrite manner at the team's Fan Fest event last week. And so basically they're going to come out and apologize.
Yeah, but what did Bregman and Altuve actually say, though?
Well, see, Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman were the two most prominent players to speak at the media. Neither had much to say, though. Altuve made headlines for assuring Astros fans that the team would return to the World Series. That's pretty much what he said. And then Bregman only dismissed the accusations of players wearing buzzers at the plate, calling those rumors stupid. No,
I don't think he has a room to say anything like that.
That's my point. That's my point. That's what's irritating in all this. Because, you know what made this more disappointing, John, is that who are my two favorite players in the Astros?
Yeah, Altuve and Bregman.
And when I heard this, I was like, you know what? You guys just spit in my face. I felt like you spit in my face. Right. For you to sit there and say, oh, the idea of using buzzers, that's just stupid. So having a hidden camera and you banging on trash cans with a fucking stupid? Like what is defined as stupid? Because at this point, you are the biggest stupid idiot in the whole group at this point. Because you know what? I'd rather you just not say anything.
It's like denying something that's obvious.
Absolutely.
You know, I really want, you know, your Khoa, your opinion, because you're one of the most diehard fans, Houston fans, that I know. I mean, even though you'll know through picking our picks through, you know, the NFL season, even though you know that it's a slim to none chance the Texans will win, you still choose them, and you'll go down with the ship. So as a Astro fan, and I'm not saying that Chris isn't, but as an Astro fan through and through, how do you see the team? And how will you be a fan going forward?
First of all, I wish you were a reporter that was asking the questions. To Bregman, I wish I would have loved that soundbite of you saying that, because that's a great point. You know, like, I don't think they really have much room to speak as it comes to the players. I know that it's a slippery slope with the whole players and the difference between firing a manager and upper management staff versus players. You got to get the Players Association involved. But I do want them to be held accountable 100%, you know. When you asked Chris if he's still going to be an Astros fan, I was like, man, am I still going to be one? Like, I would like to think yes, you know. Like, I don't like the idea of abandoning a team, especially when it has history much bigger than just what has been going on in the last couple of years. So when I see it, and I think long game, I think that we'll be back and, you know, we'll still be a dominant force for years to come and hopefully win another championship that isn't tainted, right? Like the right way or whatever. And hopefully we can do it with this cast.
Nah, I don't think
but that probably can't happen, right? So what is going to happen 20 years later where it's a totally different cast and maybe by then people will forget about the trash cans that were banging 20 years ago, right?
I won't be surprised or shocked that, you know, you go to another stadium, you'll hear that banging, just because they're patronizing.
I said earlier, I believe it, man. Trash can sales will go up.
You know,
anywhere Astros go play.
I even through all this bullshit, even through the whole reading the report, I was still hoping that the integrity of the Astros doesn't last, especially with my favorite players, Altuve and Bregman. Yeah. Like them going the route that they did with the reporters probably was the most disappointing, even more disappointing than the actual reports and them actually cheating for me.
So do you believe the players or any players should be punished?
I think all the players should be punished.
What
honestly,
would be the right punishment?
I know everyone's coming with these extreme, like, we need to take the 2017 championship away. We need to give it to the Dodgers. You know, Khoa made a very good point, and you know, these teams need to be careful of their high horse, because obviously a lot of these teams are been up to no good. In my personal opinion, I really feel like the Astros should keep the 2017 championship, but I think that since they went above and beyond to cheat themselves and the fans out, I think it's only necessary that the Houston Astros are banned from the playoffs and the World Series for the next 3 to 5 years.
Whoa.
I think that in college football, when a team commits and breaks the rules, they're stripped from the championships and they're not allowed to play. Alabama had to do it.
But they lose scholarships.
They lose scholarships. Alabama was out of the playoffs for quite some time for some corruption, and they basically had some winning seasons, but it didn't matter. They weren't able to reap the benefits that comes with making the playoffs. And at this point, listen, to me, if you're not gonna find the players, right? If you're not gonna individually hold the players accountable, then what you're telling the rest of the world of sports is that these players can do anything and everything that they want, because that's just the nature of the game, or that's just what's the rules as far as the player union and whatnot. I just feel like if you really, really are, and here's the telling thing, if you really are sorry and you really want to take accountability for this, and you really, really feel bad for embarrassing the city, then if I come to you and say, you know what, for the next 3 years, you guys can't go to the playoffs, to me, taking that punishment would be a story, especially if they can go 3 years without winning and then coming back and then showing the world that they took their punishment and they were able to come from the bottom again and rise up back to the top.
So you mentioned like in college football, that they get banned from the postseason, and also they lose scholarships. Well, in professional sport that exists too, but just not in our American professional sport. That exists in soccer. So basically, what ends up happening is if a team gets punished for some reason or a scandal or cheating or whatever, what ends up happening is they get deregulated. They get sent down to the minors.
Yeah.
And which I never see that happening to the Astros. What soccer teams have to, or not have to, but since they go down to the minors, they lose a lot of money. They can't function the way that they can, as if they were a premier team, and that in turn, a lot of players leave, and that's the only way I see. Say the Astros were even to go to the World Series, and say God willing that the Astros actually win it, nobody is gonna be 100% about that. Feel good baseball. I believe in like that. Baseball itself pushes different teams up, right? Baseball would never allow that to happen.
No,
right? So in turn, I think the only way that the Astros would ever redeem themselves if we got a new cast. Like maybe 1 or 2 players can stick around, but in general, bro, we lost the team. We lost the Houston Astros as we see it. You can tell me you're going back to the World Series. You can tell me all this stuff and say all the things that you need to say, but in all actuality, Springer's gone next year after this year because we're going to be a shell of ourselves. Verlander is career. He might have 1 or 2 more good years, but that's it. Correa's gone. When Jordan Alvarez comes to arbitration, he's gone the very next year. Nobody's gonna stick around to this team, unfortunately, Chris and Khoa. But we at this moment are a cancer, not only to the league, not only to the World Series, but to ourselves. Until we recycle our lineup, until we recycle our players, it's not gonna happen. Unfortunately.
Yeah. The only reason I was had doubts, or not doubts, but just thoughts on what Chris was saying about punishment. Let's say, we're banned from playoffs or whatever for the next couple years, is that, yes, that is, I'm not going to necessarily, that doesn't sound like a just punishment, but it's still like something that looms in the future, and it's not something that it's like if we even make it there. And then it's also what that also does is that opens it to that's now punishment that's going to be ricocheted to whoever might not have nothing to do with that. And that's just going to be, right? It's a nature of the beast kind of thing. Whereas to me, it should be more direct on find exactly who the hell was involved, and they should get specifically punished, versus like, okay, that's a very vague thing. Okay, if you make it, you you won't even have a chance to make it if you do. So let's say you have these young up and coming kids that, are living the dream, get a chance to play, and now they play with this cancerous team that had nothing to do with it, but they, they're like a part of it now. Whereas to me, I'd rather find a way to be able to punish these people, these list of 100, 150, whatever people were involved, make them suffer in whichever way you think is most justifiable, and then say that, okay, if we're going to allow them to continue their MLB career, let them continue it, and then treat that going forward is what it is. Because it's a slippery slope, but it's like, well, we found cheating or whatever in the past, and then let's say we got caught for that. Now everybody's in their mind is like, wow, are they still doing it? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. But you don't fucking know. Just because, you know what I mean? Like nobody knows. Nobody knows. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I get that. I get that they did it in the past and they were caught. But let's say that they said they've all stopped now. They said they won't do it again, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying just listen to them, but you have no ways about it one way or the other. So find a way to punish them for what they've already done and then police it better going forward. But then if you have it to be where it's so broad that it's just going to like, because I don't see anything happening besides what John said.
Oh yeah,
if that happens, we're gonna self-destruct, and it's just gonna really everybody's gonna.
That's what I mean. Like when the Astros were playing for something, obviously, it really didn't mean anything to them. So why not make them play for nothing and see how much does it mean to them? Because at the end of the day, you have if you have any moral compass to you or any type of integrity, you have to think to yourself, man, you know what? Like, I've messed up. I have cheated in ways that I can never take back. The only way to redemption is literally starting from the absolute bottom. And to me, I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that I'm right here. I'm just saying that, if the Astros were not allowed to be in the playoffs in the World Series, as talented as this team is, I think for a lot of people that actually might be something that would at least allow the baseball world to gradually, regain confidence in us. And
that's the thing. How do we get back confidence? But I tell you this,
you don't do it with that fan fest shit. I tell you that much.
LA City Council has come out and actually passed a resolution to give the championship to the LA Dodgers, who were in the World Series in 2017.
Not happening.
2018.
Not fucking happening.
I thought that was ridiculous, but
that's stupid. I'll say this.
I agree with Chris's punishment more than anything.
If the championships,
actually I thought of first.
If the trophies ever get vacated, it's not going to anybody. Like, it's just,
it doesn't go to anybody. It's just vacated.
Hell no.
I don't think
it's not going to. I don't think it should be either. But I will say this: with the whole fan fest thing and just in general, like. That's I feel like if I was them, that's one thing that they owe. They owe it to the fans and the city, right? Just to at least come out and say, like,
absolutely.
Hey, I'm not saying we admit guilt or fault or whatever, but we caused this public embarrassment to the city that, we've been fighting for and that we have been putting on our shoulders, and now we brought this. What are you going to do about that? Right. I think that's the thing that I think disappoints me most in thinking about being an Astros fan, because that was like the pinnacle of like why I held them in such high regard in the first place. Like,
absolutely.
Man, these are stand-up guys who seemingly do no wrong, and now all of a sudden this is like put in front of us is like, well, shit. What are they going to do now? How are they going to act as men? You said right. What it's how you. What is it? It's what you do when nobody's looking.
When
right?
no one's looking, that defines you as a man.
And now the whole fucking world is looking. And what are they doing?
Continuously being defined. And John, I and I don't want to harsh on this too much, because for me it is a painful subject. It is heartbreaking, and it makes me really, really, really get teary in many ways from my emotional attachment to the Astros, but I was the first person that I know of that was screaming and trying to find every reasons to debate and prove that Jose Tuve was the greatest Astro of all time. And to know that he's not only part of this scandal, but for someone who I was putting on a pedestal of at least having, of all the Astros, I really thought that he would at least be the first one to come out on his own and apologize. And you're talking to me about, don't worry, guys, we're going to be in the World Series next year. Like, it to me, it was just like both of them rubbing salt in my eyes. And I still...
They were pissing on you and calling it rain.
Dude, it's just horrible altogether. And you know what? At the end of the day, you know what? If the Astros can't do it and they got to wait to training, to training camp or spring training to apologize, you know, I'm going to go ahead and take the narrative by saying I apologize to the rest of the Houston fans. I apologize that we have players that we have looked up to, that we have paid money to watch, that we have raved and argued and defended.
Wear their jerseys.
I'm sorry that they have not come out and apologized to us, to baseball fans across the world. I'm sorry. But I will say this. I don't know if I'm going to walk away from the Astros, but I don't know when I'm going to be 100% on the Astros. And that, for me, is probably the most heartbreaking thing in all this.
It sounds like you were, I mean, not to make fun of it, but like in a kind of like analogy-wise, it's like a relationship. You got to gain confidence again.
Yeah, you got to earn that trust back.
Yeah, you really do.
It's like a family member that you just found out that they have been deceiving you their entire life or something like that.
You know, I do want to move on from the subject, but the one question that I have looming in my head through all the scandals, through everything that the baseball has endured, and this is another one, and I don't care what anybody says, but baseball in general, being my first love, has been ransacked, has been drugged through the mud, because we always have these things come up, whether it's the Black Sox, whether it's Pete Rose, and his, in my opinion, hypocritical ass, betting on games, whether it's, you know, steroids era, to today, how, when you look at far 20 years from now, how big of a deal is this when you look at the health of the game and the longevity of the game compared to the other 2 or 3 other leagues that are?
That's funny. I was literally thinking probably similar, like the exact same type of question. Not worded like that, but more so in my head, I was thinking, you look at the sport today, is it cleaner than it used to be, or is it worse? And I think obviously the goal for Rob Manfred, and I think anybody who becomes the commissioner and just the fans, they want to clean up the sport in a sense of everybody should have an equal playing field. You should never doubt who's winning the championship because of something that's tainted. And but that's a good question. What do you when you see this scandal? Is it worse? Is it better? I think everyone thought it was getting better, you know, until you hear this.
Well, it just goes to show you that at the end of the day, you know, like that we still live in a society where money and fame and glory of winning championships for a lot of people outweighs being dignified and having class and being honest.
Do you think that there was a report in, there was I guess a segment in the report where A.J. Hinch was against what they were doing, and the players said if A.J. Hinch would have told them to stop,
they would have stopped.
They would have stopped. But then there's also this notion where he allegedly broke 2 computer screens, so that way the players couldn't use it. And so I'm kind of confused as like, okay, you're allowing this to happen or you're not? You're telling the players to stop or you're not? I don't. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around it. And, you know, you kind of like, I don't know, I'm not trying to speak for you, but I feel like you're taking the onus a little bit off of the manager and the general manager in this case, and putting it on the players, which I don't think that's not fair.
Well, from all accounts, there was many reports that showed that AJ Hinch did try to stop it, but nobody was listening to him. It's almost as if he didn't have control of the dugout. And we were talking about it earlier. This is why I kind of feel like there might be some substance to it. And we're going to be talking a lot. I love this. This is going to be a great show because we're actually going to be digging into mental health and psychology and whatnot. But why? Let me ask you a question, John. Why, when somebody, an athlete, does steroids, what is the purpose of doing steroids?
I guess to be bigger, faster, stronger.
Right, to have
get
an advantage. To have an advantage, right? And then when you take steroids and you see the results, what's going to end up happening? You're going to keep doing it.
Keep
right?
doing it.
You're going to keep doing it.
Obviously.
And then you become basically
a slave to it.
A slave to it because and it becomes in your mind that if I don't use the steroids, then I'm not going to be as good as I am now.
That's almost to a T what Alex Rodriguez said.
So I can see that once the players started cheating and seeing results, we know in baseball, everybody hits a hitting slump. Everybody does.
Right.
And sometimes you're doing everything. You're in the batting cages longer. You're trying to change up the way you're hitting, your stance. But when you have the ability to use technology to guess and have a better guess at what pitch is coming, and you start realizing you're seeing the results, why wouldn't you continue doing that? You've already gone to the point where you're willing to stick a needle in your ass. You've already gone to the point where you're willing to bang on trash cans. You're going to keep doing it until somebody catches you.
Right.
And then what happens is when somebody catches you, you're going to deny it all the way to the end because you don't want people to think that that's the only reasons why you're successful is because of the needle or because of the trash can. At the end of the day, you really didn't need the needle and you really didn't need the trash can. You just thought you did.
Right.
And that in itself just shows me how easy it is for athletes to get so lost in winning and so lost in the fame and fortune that comes with winning that you're sometimes willing to do anything and everything to make that happen.
I agree with you. And I'm not denying what you're saying, but I have a very much more of a nefarious theory on why AJ Hinch didn't stop it outright.
Why you don't think he stopped it outright?
Because other teams, other players, other organizations do something, if not exactly, something very similar. You had, Alex Cora, obviously used something, did something, and they won a championship. And the Mets went out and before that, the Yankees the very next year went out and got Carlos Beltran. And Alex Cora, he himself did that little wink saying that they got Carlos Beltran. That was their best acquisition. And he literally gives this wink because it was a nod to what they knew that they were already doing. Then he gets hired by the Mets. So this whole notion of AJ Hinch not telling him not to stop, he couldn't tell him not to stop because of the fact that he knew that if he stopped that act in itself, it would give the other teams an opportunity, other teams an advantage over the Astros. And he knew that the players knew this, so he wouldn't have told him to stop. I can see him getting frustrated with them overusing it and use it to the point where they were so reliant on it that they would strike out or they would get in a hitting slumps, not guessing right. So he would get frustrated and take it away from the players and just say, fucking play the game. Stop using this. Or stop doing this tactic. But that's the problem, and that's the main reason why I don't think he stopped it outright. Because it will give the advantage to the other teams.
I'm playing devil's advocate here with you, John. I mean, and the reason why I say that is that I think at the end of the day, like here's the results. We know that they were cheating altogether. Everybody had a hand in it. Whether you stopped it, didn't stop it, Shetty should have stopped it, or you went along with banging on the trash can till there was doomsday. All I know is that when you are amongst your peers and everybody's doing the wrong thing and you do try to stop it, but then the peer pressure of continuing to do it, they go along with it.
100%.
I think that in baseball, we talk about the unwritten laws. We already know, like, as much as everyone, like, first of all, Fires is not a, what are they calling him? A hero? What's the word when you tell that something a whistleblower? He would have been a whistleblower if he did it that year and talked about it during the game. To me, that would have been a whistleblower. But you don't wait 2 years to do it. And then, anyways, I think that everybody who knew it was wrong, and I'm giving Hinch some of the benefit of that just from the things I've read, that he conformed because he knew that his voice wasn't going to be loud enough to stop it. Now, I don't know if that's possibly true, but I'm just telling you from you read the reports, there was obviously a lot of times where he tried to stop it and he was outruled and overruled, and and to me, if that's true,
then he shouldn't have the job. Then
that's what I'm trying to say. If that's true, then he should have been fired because he didn't have control of his team. And that's a different story for a different day, because that just goes to show you that this man didn't have a backbone, and so he got what he deserved. But what I'm trying to say is that the players themselves were walking all over because this is what they wanted to do, because at the end of the day, the players seem to have the most power in the baseball, Especially,
the tell-all, end-all, to be honest with you, and I like I say, let's look at the results. When we come out at the end of the day, when you see what happens, to Alex Cora, when you see what happens to Beltran, and them losing their jobs and all that stuff,
I wanted to hug
I want to see what happens to Mike Fierce or Fires. I don't even know.
I've
heard it every which way. I am so sorry by mispronouncing it. I couldn't tell you.
It's Fires.
It's Fires. Okay. What happens to him if he lands on another team, if he gets another contract? I will be super shocked because at the end of the day, there's always these trade secrets. There's always these little things that people try to get away with. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. That is the same. And I guarantee you every team does something like that. And from this day forward, if he gets another contract, then I will believe that all teams don't do it. But if he does not play on another team with another contract, then I'll go to my grave believing that every team has something that they're doing. Something.
Real fast, before we get off this depressing subject, this is the Sports Trap Podcast. This is your host, John Trapp, the incredible, talented, great dancing, sexy-ass Khoa. And, of course, I am Chris Rodriguez. Real fast, as you're watching this, we can all agree, because we're going to be getting into some mental health here, that there is some 7 stages of grief with what's happened with the Astros. You have shock and denial. That is a state of disbelief and numb feelings. Then you have pain and guilt. You have anger and bargaining. You have depression. You have the upward turn where you're starting to kind of come around and it's trying to hit you reality-wise. And then you have the reconstruction and working through the situation. And then eventually it's the acceptance and hope. I can tell you right now, I'm nowhere near the acceptance and hope part. But if you are a Astros fan, please, in the comments, tell us what 7 stages of grief you are right now. I think it's important you let us know where you're at. I think most of you guys are still in denial, and I think there's also a lot of anger and bargaining when I hear, well, everyone else is doing it. You're bargaining, son. You're bargaining. We cheat.
Is that where I'm at? Bargaining at this point?
You've been at anger and bargaining for quite some time.
You skip straight to anger and bargaining.
Yeah, yours. Oh, yeah, that's just you, John.
I've always been like that.
Yeah,
I'm still in that since
John is
since the steroid era.
So again, let us know in the comments like what stages of grief you're at. I think it's compelling, and I think as we move forward as Astros fans, I think it's going to take us all coming together and talking about our feelings and emotions. We all feel something. But with that being said, let's blast off to the fucking Houston Rockets, because we can talk about them too.
This is a Sports Trap Podcast. This is Christopher Rodriguez to my right, and my man with the Rockets hat, with the Rockets topic, Khoa, on the ones and twos. My name is John Trapp. So, again, losers of 4 straight in a row. Houston Rockets, 17-point comeback by the lowly, or I shouldn't say lowly, but Oklahoma City's
they're there
with CP3.
They're competing for a playoff spot, and boy, has CP3 looked like he is. I don't know if it's his new vegan diet, but man's been playing incredible basketball.
Okay, let's get on to the Rockets real quick, but I want to bring up something about CP3. So I have never questioned the guy's talent, right? He's a good talent. He's actually
Point guard,
right? I respect
Absolutely.
the man as a point guard. But let me see him go through a whole season. All right? Then you can come back and tell me, hey, we did the right move or the wrong move.
So far, I mean, with the 2 years that he played with the Rockets, so far, this is his longest. Knock on wood, because there's nobody else I want, redemption for it. I want him to succeed, especially where he's at right now. Compared, he should be at a contender, right? We know the Thunder is not going to contend. But John, you kind of hinted to that. The Rockets led 100-85 in the fourth and actually lost a game 112-107. I think that's an incredibly unbelievable collapse. I watched that whole game. I have never screamed and yelled at James Harden. Oh boy, was I screaming! For the 11-game stretch, James Harden was a human torch from the three, hitting 49.6%. Rockets actually went in 9-2 in those games. In the 7 games since, he's 21 of 88. He is shooting 23.9% from the three-point line, including 1 for 17 that night. The frustrating part about that game was when he didn't have the ball, he was continuously doing that whole thing he did last year.
He checks out.
Yeah,
half court.
He's half court. He's walking. He's not involved. And then instead of actually trying to make an impact on the game, listen, if your shot's off, your shot's off. Then find another way to be impactful in the game. He's not even doing that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It to me
but,
right now.
he's offensively, he's going through a struggle. So it's his I don't want to say personality, but it's the mentality that he checks out.
John, when you and I both play basketball, Khoa, you do play basketball too. When your shot's off and you're not shooting, what do you end up doing?
Play defense.
Or you do something, hustle, rebound.
Right.
That's
what I say every time.
Right.
I don't care if you suck. Do something.
He's not even doing that.
Hard.
He's not even doing that. And that's the tell-all. And this is why a lot of people now, I'm hearing the narrative Russell Westbrook can't shoot, but at least he's out there trying to make something happen for the team. Mm-hmm. He's cheering the team. He's slapping them on the ass. He's hustling all over the court. Sometimes I don't even know what the hell he's hustling about. Sometimes he just seems like he's so out of control. But the point being is that he's out there trying to make something happen, and James Harden is just sitting there in his feelings, Drake, and I don't get it.
Right.
It is frustrating. And what bothers me the most is I am not a James Harden fan. I defend him, and I've been defending him because I believe that people's narrative of him is so ridiculous. But when you start proving the doubters right, we have an issue. And to me, that's just part of the story. D'Antoni has been checked out. He's not trying to make any adjustments. He's not trying to do anything differently. We know that the moment that James Harden went on this incredible scoring and he was averaging close to 40 points in a game, the NBA decided that they were just going to double team him at half court. But what are you doing? You're supposed to be an offensive-minded guru. What are you doing to counteract that? You're not doing any of those. You're not doing anything. And to me, this Rockets season was already a shithole from all the controversy that happened in the offseason with the Chris Paul situation, then with the Hong Kong situation, and then the fact that you actually had this rift between the organization and D'Antoni because they didn't give him an extension. And I told you, if you're not going to give him an extension, fire him. He's a lame duck right now. You pretty much told him, if you can't get us to the championship, you're gone.
Yeah, but I kind of like the fact that if you're a coach, prove it. Like if you're gonna lead us to the next level, prove it. And just because the coach has a contract or not shouldn't stipulate why the players play hard for him or not. That is if that's the case, then why have a coach? Like seriously, like if you're gonna let the morale of the team be led by whatever player is hot for that night and doesn't give a shit what the coach says and thinks, and he doesn't have a contract, that's horrible in my opinion.
Well,
that's what's gonna drive the players. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're right or wrong.
Yeah.
Just saying. But when you look back on it, at this point in the season, we're actually doing better than we were. And actually, I know I said that we went through four straight losses right now. We went through 2 last year by this point of the season. So, I mean, I know it feels like the sky is falling, but my real concern is how do we turn it around, and can we turn it around? If you remember last year, we had to go get Prisbilla back. The is it Prisbilla? The defensive minded head coach. I mean, from I think it was the New Jersey Nets. But he's the one that came in, and he actually had retired. We convinced him to come back to help our defense out. Can we get something like that?
No.
To happen for the Rockets this season?
No. Listen, the Rockets couldn't even beat the Utah Jazz in 7 games right now. That's the truth.
No, but the Utah Jazz on a run, dude.
But that's what I'm trying to get everyone to understand. This team as constructed is not winning a championship, which is sad. But here's the thing: a lot of people are saying that the way the Rockets play, this ISO, this 3-pointers, is not going to work. It almost worked, except in 2017, Chris Paul got hurt. Right? The 2017 and 2018 seasons, why they're so different from 2019, 2020, other than the fact that we traded Russell Westbrook for Chris Paul, is the fact that those other 2 seasons, we actually surrounded Chris Paul and James Harden with real shooters. We don't have any shooters right now. Listen, when James Harden is passing and he is giving the ball up and players have to shoot, Ben McLemore ain't hitting shots. Daniel House ain't hitting shots. Tucker has not been hitting his shots. Yeah. No one is hitting his shots. Eric Gordon the other night was 1 for 7. He wasn't hitting shots. We don't have other playmakers on this team. Everybody on this team cannot shoot. We don't have shooters anymore. So the 3-point concept is not working. This is why I'm getting frustrated, because it's like, okay, D'Antoni, like if you're a coach, you should be aware of your talent, right? So you play them to their strengths. And right now, they're not being played to their strengths.
Do you think that may be tired?
I don't know what it is, but it doesn't look good.
But it's not only, I mean, yes, play to your strengths, but obviously our strength is our perimeter game and our shooting. But if that breaks down, we have to have a multi-tiered, multi-layered game. So you gotta change up the game plan. Hey man, if we're shooting 1 for 7, if Harden is shooting 1 for 17, change it up.
Change it up.
And that's what's frustrating, you know. And then seeing him be so nonchalant and not caring, you know. I mean, of course, that is. You don't want to see any player be like that.
Right.
Nonetheless, your franchise star, probably, you know, besides J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson, like the hope of Houston sports. And he's plastered everywhere. He's on all the commercials. He's like one of the spokespersons for the city, right? And when he gets into those slumps and then it starts to venture out into these other players that, you know, should be backing him up and they're shooting like shit, there needs to be a switch in play. And that's where that really comes down to the coaching. And that's where I see the, hey, what's the plan now? We got to switch up our system. And, you know, we're so stuck in this ISO ball of style of play that once that breaks down, it's like I feel like we have nothing else in our playbook. And that's what's really frustrating to me, because I think that we have, even without the shooting, there's ways to score. There's ways to still keep the game close, to let them score at a minimum, but we're not taking full advantage of those things, because the times that we are hot and we are winning, it's because our shots are on.
Right.
And it's great, but as it's always bound to happen. People go into slumps, whatever it is, if it's like just the time of the season or things are going on outside of basketball. But it's those times where it's like, okay, what else have we got in the bag? It can't just be that one trick. And then once you find that back up, it just makes your game even better.
Right.
But then it's like, okay, we let that go, and then now we're fucking, oh shit, we're like lost little puppies. You know?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because, you know, if James Harden was any other player, if you saw him not involved in walking down the court while everybody's hustling down the court, you would immediately take his ass out the game. That's another issue that I have here, is that somebody needs to hold him accountable. And the other night after he was 1 for 17. He did a really quick, interview with the media, and he went right back out to Toyota Center for the next couple hours shooting threes. A lot of people are like, well, look, he cares. No. He cares about the wrong thing. I don't need you to continue shooting threes. I need to know that when your shot's off, you're going to go above and beyond to help your team in other ways that you can. And another thing too, I don't understand why Russell Westbrook is just not the main ball handler. Since they're gonna go ahead and double team, why not get James Harden in the post up? Why not get James Harden into position where he doesn't have to bring the ball up and make the shots easier for him so they can't always double team? Like, to me, this seems like simple basketball, but for whatever reasons, something is going on with the team that's not making any sense.
Well, and that's the problem I've had with D'Antoni from the gate is he's somebody that doesn't know how to adjust. It's his way, and he's won it to a certain extent. The way he's played it, starting with the Phoenix Suns, and eventually with the Rockets. And if you don't remember, Jeremy Lin Sanity was under his watch as well, because that's the way he plays, and he feels like he can win eventually doing that. And one of the reasons that James Harden is who he is to this day, not to take any skill away from him, but just he has a coach that allows him to use his game to the utmost ability, whether or not it wins us games or not, or whether or not, it could get us past a certain level in the playoffs. And up to this point, it hasn't. And he's just so staunch in those beliefs that, Khoa brought up that where's that second tier offense? When this isn't going right, what can you do? And that was the problem in the 2017 playoffs when they missed so many three-pointers. They're like, what can we do after this? There was nothing. And
Keep shooting threes, apparently.
Well, they were driving to the hole. They just weren't getting any calls for that either, but that's a different story.
For this to happen, for you to go 1-16 or 1-17, shows me that you still haven't learned. And like you said, he doesn't hold anybody accountable. Even Greg Popovich would tell and pull Tim Duncan to the side. He goes, hey, I'm about to bitch you out in front of the whole team, but I need you to take it. Because I wanted the whole team to know that I'm holding you. Sorry,
and that you're not above you're not above the law.
Right,
in that sense.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's somebody that doesn't tend to do that, and that's why I don't want to give him a contract extension. I want him. If this is it, this is it. We went and traded away Chris Paul to get somebody that was supposedly our second tier that said, hey, James Harden's not having a good day. We'll give it to Westbrook, and that hasn't worked either. I'm sorry if we do not work. If we don't, we put all our eggs in. We all said this. We put our eggs in this basket. This is our team going forward because we traded everything else. Just like the Houston Texans. We get Tunsil. Guess what? We don't have 2 draft picks next year, but that's another topic. But anyways, what my point is, we put our eggs in this basket.
Sad. This is so sad to be Houston.
We put our eggs in this basket. So if this does not work, then I don't want this coach. I'm sorry. I do want it to work, and I do. If this works, I do want the coach. But this hasn't to this point. So I just want to see how the rest of the season play out. If this plays out in our favor, great. If it doesn't, see you later.
You know what's bad about all this is that I recorded the Lakers game with the Rockets, and at one point they were actually leading the game, and they ended up losing. No, we're not surprised about that. But it was after the game that made me so sick to my stomach is that LeBron James, who never gives anybody compliments, actually came out and said that James Harden is one of the greatest offensive players ever played.
No, don't tell me that shit when you beat me. Don't tell me that. That's patronizing.
Isn't it?
God damn it, dude. Don't sit there. Hey, listen, I good game, cool. Keep it moving. But don't tell me how great I am after the fact. You played really, really good. I still whooped your ass, but you're all right. No, fuck that. I'm sorry. Don't tell me that shit. That's patronizing me. That's telling me more than I need.
And also too, I thought it was interesting because you brought that up.
I was gonna say that shit too.
I knew you brought that up, Khoa, earlier, but they don't have another game plan. Charles Barkley said that night that the Rockets have a plan A, a plan A, a plan A. That's it. They don't have a plan B. And
really? He said that?
Yeah, and as ridiculous as that is, it's so true. And here's a question to not only you, John and Khoa, but to those who are watching the show. Me personally, I think that the Rockets need to go ahead and fire D'Antoni ASAP. Not even wait to the rest of the season.
Wow.
He's not. I watched D'Antoni. And I don't know if you've been listening to his press conferences, but he's been taking shots at that. This is not necessarily his style of play, but this is what works for the. That's what I'm saying. So you have somebody that's making these little comments and throwing these little jabs. I think we need to go ahead and part ways with D'Antoni, and I actually think Fertitta is going to end up firing him before February.
Wow.
And my next question is, who should be the next Rockets coach? Me personally, and maybe I'm being a homer, but to make just Houston great again, I wouldn't mind seeing Sam Cassell become the coach of the Rockets. He's been under Doc Rivers, and I think he's somebody that comes with legitimacy. When you think about Sam Cassell, he was tenacious. He played D. He was a great offensive player, and I like the fact that he's been an apprentice to Doc Rivers. I think that he would be a great pick. So I mean, you guys tell me what you guys think.
Well,
Houston out there, tell me what
I'm
you
gonna
think.
let the fans decide that or say what they want first. I want to sit on that. That's a good point, and I want to see where this goes because I do hopefully want to see a turnaround going forward. But yeah, Khoa, you have any?
I want Phil Jackson.
Oh yeah, that would be the.
I can feel you and call you, and you can call me Jackson. That's as close as you're gonna get to it.
That's true.
All right, this is the Sports Trap Podcast. Christopher Rodriguez and Khoa next to me doing what we do.
Oh.
H-Town stand up. I know it's been what.
I was gonna say FYI just to make things worse. I'm trying to be mean, but Tucker came out. He has a pinched nerve in his shoulder.
Who? Tucker?
Yeah.
I've known he's. So again, Sports Trap. Christopher Rodriguez joining me, Khoa, on the ones and twos. Now I did bring up the fact that the Houston Texans going forward.
Shut the.
They've made some changes. They've made a couple of coaching changes. Romeo Cornell has effectively stepped down. I don't know whether he got relieved of his duties, fired from his post, or he resigned and retired. I'm not too sure, but we have promoted the defensive line coach to defensive coordinator going forward. But my question is this. Do the Houston Texans, out of all the playoff teams, the Titans, the Ravens, the Bills, the Patriots, and of course the Chiefs, who has the brightest future? Because
of who?
Of all the playoff teams. Because there's look, Tennessee Titans, they look like they found something.
I think what separates the Houston Texans from everybody else, it just seems like these teams have great coaching and not only coaching but assistant coaches and GMs. You look at how successful the 49ers have been, how they were able to put that together. Hell, you look at first year coach of the Green Bay Packers. He led them to the championship. You look at Vrabel, who was. It's interesting that Shanahan and Vrabel were all part of the Houston Texans organization, and somehow we let them go. I think that right now, it feels like every team right now has a brighter future than the Houston Texans.
The only one that I named that felt off the top of my head that maybe didn't have the brightest future if they let him go, and that would be Tom Brady and the Patriots. Out of those 6 teams that made the playoffs, I think that the Titans have a better future. I think the Bills have a better future. Of course, the Ravens. Of course, the Chiefs.
My stomach hurts, bro.
But
we're like the good luck Chuck of the NFL,
right,
dude.
Right. The one thing I will say,
Gary Kubiak winning a goddamn Super Bowl after.
One thing I will say is, you mentioned Kyle Shanahan and Mike Vrabel. There's other coaches that I forget at the moment, but other coaches that have.
Pretty much all the coaches that Shanahan had with him, we had them.
So this is a good sign that we finally, defensive line coach, go up to defensive coordinator and see what happens.
But at that time, we actually had a GM. Remember who the GM now is? It's Mr. Williams, a.k.a. Bob.
So I don't know, man. My biggest fear for the Houston Texans is we waste Deshaun Watson. That's my hugest fear.
Listen. I'm done. I'm tired. I was going to tell everybody, listen, if all else fails, at least we have the Houston Dynamo, but they're sucking right now too. So with that being said, let's go ahead and just jump into, do we still have the arrows? No. We don't have the comments either, right? What about the dash? We still have the dash. I don't even know when they play.
What's her face left, right?
Yeah, they traded her to JJ Watt. Okay. So as it stands right now, let's just get into the AFC and NFC championship. I think let's talk about some positive things that are happening, even if it's not happening to us as the city of Houston. Let's just go ahead and get into that because I want John. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Paul texted me. He goes, when the 49ers won, he goes, damn, now we got to hear John talk about the 49ers for the next 45 minutes in the show. And I promised him that we wouldn't do that.
Okay. All right.
That doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about the 49ers.
I will be professional. I won't gloat.
I would.
But my 49ers defeated the Green Bay Packers to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl, 20-37. And honestly, it wasn't really that much of a close game. And on the flip side, the Chiefs defeat the Tennessee Titans 24-35 to punch the other ticket going on the other side. And we going to Miami, baby. My 49ers are going to Miami. All right? So this is the Sports Trap Podcast. My name is John Trapp, 49er fan. I'm sorry.
Good night.
We're out. Peace.
Wait, no, John, those are your two picks, right? We did last week? Because I remember correctly, Chris said Titans and Niners. Yeah. I said Chiefs and Packers, and you said Chiefs and Niners, right?
Yes, sir.
So props to you on getting that correct.
I mean, I don't want to gloat. Like I don't want to make this show about how right I was.
Okay.
But in all actuality, I do think that the Chiefs and the 49ers are the two best teams coming out. Unfortunately, I don't think the AFC and NFC championships were actually the best two teams from the respective conferences to represent the conference champions. And what I mean by that is, listen, Titans are a great team. I take nothing for them, but they weren't the better team. They weren't the best team coming out overall during the season. Yes, they got hot. Yes, they had probably the best running back in the game, but they didn't have the best overall team, and which I thought was the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram and Earl the Pearl Thomas III. I wanted to see that matchup. I wanted to see, could the Ravens finally defeat the Chiefs like they did in the like the Chiefs actually beat them during the regular season. And on the flip side, I wanted to see the Seahawks. And I told Chris, I wanted to see the Seahawks and the 49ers play at the NFC Championship game because that was the two best teams. I didn't want to see it before. I didn't want to see somebody like the Packers or the Vikings play in a 20-37 basically blowout game for the NFC Championship. I wanted to see the two best teams. But unfortunately, hey, man, boo-hoo, I can cry in my beer later or maybe not, So 2 weeks from now, we're going to see finally see the two best teams in the NFL go at it. So,
I just think there's one best team.
So here's my question when it comes down to it. Titans put a great effort. That's what you want to see from a team. Just give me a chance. Just give me the ball, coach, and I'm going to try to do what I can do to win the game.
They sure didn't let the Chiefs score 51 points, that's for sure.
Yeah, so, they started out, Tennessee Titans started out really good, 10-0. Of course, the Kansas City Chiefs tend to let the other team get a little head start.
Did you see their successful fake punt that they did?
You talking about the Titans?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was towards the end of the game.
It doesn't matter. They went for it on 4th and 1. They made that. Then they did the fake punt. I thought it was interesting how the difference between execution and non-execution.
But it's also always
just placement. Ours was so ill-timed and
right.
It's
game management, field management.
Of course.
And so it's something that I didn't think that the Texans represented when they had their opportunity to do so. But Mike Vrabel has really given the team a moral, I guess, spark, and it's going to carry next year.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that him making that tough decision to change quarterbacks in the middle of the season, go with Tannehill. I think that went a long way. I think giving the ball to King Henry really showed what they can actually do in the NFL as far as being a powerhouse. But I don't think Tannehill's the guy. It's just they seem like their defense needs a little work, but not so much. They held their own for a second.
They're missing a couple of pieces. They don't necessarily have. They have youth, but then at the same time, they don't necessarily have the athleticism. And there's one of the things I point out to you. I said the one thing that the Titans showed me that I'm sure that everybody's watching is that they were able to disguise their zone as one-on-one. And the only issue with that is when Mahomes couldn't find his target, they didn't necessarily have the speed to run after Mahomes when he ran the ball. That one play that everyone keeps showing was ridiculous. I was just bombarded by
I remember you sent the text. That's why you don't try to strip the ball, just tackle the guy.
Just tackle the guy.
Listen, I don't think that Russell Wilson is the fastest guy, but he just knows what to do, right? And Patrick Mahomes is actually slower than Russell Wilson, and the fact that he got to the end zone wasn't a spectacular play by him, but it was spectacularly bad defense. On the Titans that made it look so good, in my opinion. But hey, man, you at the end of the day, he scored the touchdown. So
no, absolutely. Listen. I wanted to be on record, by all means, that I am not a Mahomes hater. I think Mahomes is talented, but I don't like that because we have a new shiny toy that everyone just starts jumping on the bandwagon and all of a sudden already crowning him people are going as ridiculous of crowning him in the media as the greatest quarterback to never win a championship. Come on now. Listen.
He's actually the best player in all sports.
Right now, they were debating this morning on ESPN who is the best player in all of sports, LeBron James or Mahomes. And people were actually saying Mahomes was better than LeBron James. And somebody quickly pointed out, but Mahomes has never won anything. And well, he's going to win this year. Why are you saying that? The game hasn't even been played. My thing is that I feel like that Mahomes is the Steph Curry of the NFL. We're caught up in the hype. We're caught up in the excitement that he brings to the table. But this kid has not been tested. He's never been tested. And I told you, John, what did I tell you? He is about to face the hardest defense he's ever faced in his whole entire NFL career. And that goes all the way back to when he was playing for Texas Tech. I actually did some research and looked up all the games he played in Texas Tech. He hardly played any good defenses. Most of the teams he played in the Big 12, he either lost or they won, but it was like ridiculous, like 56-65. And when you go back and you just actually look at like what scouts were saying about him, is exactly what I've been saying. Is that he tries to go for the exciting play, that he tries to do these playground type of moves, and then sometimes he doesn't necessarily, stay with the progressions, and he's always trying to do something flashy. You cannot do this. And I'm sorry. Everyone's already saying that the Chiefs are going to win, that this is Andy Reid's year, that Mahomes is going to be the greatest player of all time. 75% of all the teams that have won the Super Bowl were a top 5 defensive team. What did they say? Defenses win championships. The 49ers aren't the Tennessee Titans. They got speed and athleticism throughout that whole damn defense. And like you pointed out a couple of weeks ago, they're healthy and they're hungry and they're nasty.
Yeah, this is the most healthiest I've ever seen. Talking about the flip side, I'm glad you brought that up because the 49ers, in all actuality, have cakewalked through these playoffs. They were inches away from being the 5th seed. They would have had to play a completely different gauntlet. They would have had to play the Seahawks. They would have had to play the Saints. And that's a whole different circumstance when we talk about those teams. Not to say that the 49ers wouldn't have been in the same spot, but what I do like about the 49ers defeating the Packers is the fact that they had somewhat of a mobile quarterback, and you saw what they did to him. Yes, he eventually got a couple touchdowns, and Aaron Rodgers got a couple touchdowns, but those are, essentially garbage time touchdowns. And then when they needed to make the stops with the 49ers, the 49ers didn't even have to throw the ball.
No,
He ran the ball.
Threw the ball 6 times.
Who threw the ball 6 times?
Garoppolo.
Thank you. See, everybody is talking about Patrick Mahomes, and listen, all respect is due, but give my man Jimmy Garoppolo the respect he deserves, because at the end of the day, he threw 8 passes. And tell me another quarterback who would have been salty, who would have been upset. I only threw the ball 8 times. But you know what? No, he stood in, gave it the hot rock to the hot man in Mostert, going off for 4 touchdowns.
Great story, by the way.
200 yards.
John.
One of the greatest running back performances in all of NFL playoff history.
I have no problem with you boasting and parading about the 49ers, and I've always said that I think the 49ers have the best defense, and I respect the defense and their running game and their coaching staff. Only problem and beef I've had with you is that the way you get so excited about Garoppolo.
Why am I? Listen, everybody's hype about Patrick Mahomes, and they should be. Guess what? How many 4 touchdown games did Patrick Mahomes do this year? 1. How many 4 touchdown games has Jimmy Garoppolo had this year? 3. So all these stats that people are throwing
why don't you should be the reasons why you guys are here in the Super Bowl is what you should be bragging and boasting about.
Right. And you just cut me off. You haven't let me get to that.
Because everything you ever talk, since he's been talking about the 49ers, what does he normally talk about? Who is it? Garoppolo, as if he's Joe Montana.
Hey, listen, man. No, he's not. Let the man play his game. Let the man lead this team to 13-3 record. Let the man play the position the way it's supposed to be played. When he gets called, his number gets called, he shows up. When he has to lead the team down in a 2-minute drive, he shows up. When he has to win the game versus one of the best the teams in the NFC versus the Saints, he won that game for him. When he has to come back and hand the ball off.
I thought we really made waves yesterday when we had a personal conversation. I told you, I said, you know what, John? I'm so happy for you for the 49ers. I just wish personally, on a personal level, that you'd be this excited and pump your defensive players the way you pump Garoppolo.
Man, let me be a fan the way I want to be a fan. You tell me all you want about the defense, and trust me, I'm big Richard Sherman fan. I'm the first person to say, when he was with the Seahawks, I hated his ass, but I love him on my team. When they picked up Nick Bosa, I was the first person to be like, hell yeah, great first pickup. How do you build through the draft? Your offensive line first. What they do, they built it a couple years back, started with the offensive line. This year they started with their defensive line. Guess what? Almost damn near everyone on that defensive front is a pro bowler. Legit pro bowler. And then they get healthy. They go get D Ford. They go get Khoa Alexander. They draft Nick Bosa. I mean, I can go on and on and on about the defense.
Don't forget Dre Greenlaw, who was a 5th-round pick, who is becoming one of the best stories as a linebacker, as a rookie. He's been phenomenal. But that's what I'm trying to get you to understand, John. Let me tell you something about John. John has always been an offensive-minded person. See, he grew up becoming a 49ers fan, not because he's also from California, because he became infatuated and fell in love with the idea of a Joe Montana and a Steve Young. See, he thinks that the only way that you can win a championship is you have this stellar, incredible quarterback, but not necessarily the truth. You don't have to have a Steve Young and Joe Montana when you have equivalent to a Joe Montana, Steve Young, and the players you have on defense. That's what you have. The running game is spectacular. Shanahan is a coaching genius. I just want you to stop trying to force us all to give credit to Garoppolo. I told you this yesterday. If you would have said, let's just at least give Garoppolo credit for being a great leader, I'm okay with that.
Yes.
But to sit here and try to compare him to Brady and Mahomes and all these other... John, stop it. It's almost equivalent to Kyrie Irving trying to compare himself to MLK yesterday. It's ridiculous.
I didn't even want to bring that up.
Oh, I brought it up.
One thing that I brought up with the conversation we had yesterday is you are a leader and you do what it takes to win. And the main question that we had from the beginning of the show, starting when we were talking about the NFL, and was if I thought that Garoppolo could lead us to the Super Bowl. And that was the main topic. That was the main question that I even held out. You know what? I don't know yet. But let me see throughout the season if he can lead us when he needs to, when his number is called. Can he do it?
So
can he lead the team down the field in a 2-minute drive?
So
yes.
did Trent Dilfer lead the Ravens to the Super Bowl?
So what does that have to do with anything?
Because to me, they're almost the same player.
Okay.
They're game managing quarterbacks. There's a reasons why Shanahan is not. I'm sorry, John.
That's disrespectful.
No, it's not.
That is disrespectful.
You know why? Because
you want to bring up somebody that has a defense that's similar, but you're comparing two different players at a quarterback position. Bring up the stats. There's two different completely stats. First of all,
have you compared those stats?
Huh?
Have you compared their stats, Trent Dilfer and Garoppolo?
Go for it. I'm gonna let you do it. You the one that brought it up. First of all, the defense that you're talking about is one of the greatest defenses of all time, with one of the greatest defensive players of all time, right? So I'm not saying that we're even there yet, but if you want to compare them, go by all means. Hey, I'm more than a fan of you doing that. If you're comparing the defense of 49ers, what Garoppolo has done with this team has been so much more than Trent Dilfer. And I hate this kind of conversation because I feel like I will degrade what Trent Dilfer did as a player, as what he did, but there's the trajectory of what Garoppolo was doing is so much more similar to what Tom Brady did. And what you guys misunderstand and don't remember history because it doesn't fit your narrative is because it just you want to be defense first. But when it was at the beginning of their careers and Peyton Manning was lighting the league up on fire, they said Peyton Manning was a better quarterback than Tom Brady. But you know what happened? Peyton Manning had one championship. Then at the end of his career had to ride a coattail to get on a defensive team to win the second championship. But he went his entire career winning 2 championships. And at no point did Tom Brady surpass all his...
So if
At no point did Tom Brady surpass all those stats and all those records during the time that Peyton Manning was lighting the league up on fire. What ended up happening through time, he won 6 championships. Does Garoppolo need to win 6 championships for you to understand that he's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes? For you to understand that
Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Mahomes?
Yeah. For you to understand that if I had one quarterback in the entire league, I would still choose Jimmy Garoppolo over everybody in the league today.
A public service announcement. John has drank too much of the Garoppolo Kool-Aid, and unfortunately has come to this show, this podcast, drunk as fuck. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and take him out of the show. I am now going to have to be. People. Hi, this is the Sports Trapp podcast. I am your now official host, Christopher Rodriguez, because unfortunately somebody has become extremely delusional, and I get it. I'm gonna let John have his moment because obviously his 49ers are there. But
through the season
we all know that what he just said is baloney. Just pretend like you didn't hear that. Just realize that this is somebody who's just really pumped up excited because his favorite team is in the Super Bowl and they're probably gonna win the Super Bowl. That's all that matters.
Is that the year they won the championship?
2000, right? Yeah. That was the year before Brady.
You're comparing somebody that scored 12 touchdowns and threw 11 interceptions to Garoppolo? God damn, Chris, are you serious? Man, okay. Listen, again, I will link what I have seen through history, what I see on the field, what I have experienced myself.
He compared
Tom
Garoppolo
Brady
better than Mahomes,
to
guys.
Peyton Manning. So you're telling me that Peyton Manning wasn't doing almost to a T what Patrick Mahomes is doing right now? He's not lighting up the league. Tom Brady didn't overnight surpass Peyton Manning.
I don't know if this
through the longevity of his career, Tom Brady overpassed him through 6 championships. So how many championships do you need from Jimmy Garoppolo for you to understand that he's better than Patrick Mahomes?
So what you're saying is that the reasons why the 49ers are in the Super Bowl is because of the best quarterback in all of NFL and probably ever, which is Jimmy Garoppolo.
I'm saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is on a trajectory more so to win more championships than any other quarterback in the league. Yes. But at this point, in this year, you've only had a small sample size of what Jimmy Garoppolo can do. But when his number was called on, when the defense was injured, because we both agree that the defense is finally healthy now, when 2 offensive linemen were done for the season.
Even when they were hurt, they were still ranked the top 3 defense in the NFL, John.
That's not true.
Because of their depth.
Okay, either way. When they played the Saints, he had to come through for them.
That's the only game you can actually pin. I guess, John, you're going to be really disappointed when you know that the reasons why you win 1 or 2 championships is all because of this stellar fucking defense. While John was sitting there comparing and giving these ridiculous stats, comparing him to Mahomes or even remotely.
Okay, like you compared to Trent Dilfer.
So
12 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. What was that?
49ers, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner, Quan Alexander, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Emmanuel Mosley, Richard Sherman, Jakoshwi Tar, I can't even say his name right, and Jamie Ward. Let's give them a round of applause for making this Super Bowl happen for the 49ers.
Yes, baby. Let's give them a round of applause. That's right.
They're the reasons why they're in the Super Bowl. That's the facts.
Wow. So you didn't even mention Mostert, huh? That running game had nothing to do with it.
The running game is the second part of it. That's the second part of it.
And 22 straight.
Mozart wasn't even a starter in the beginning. He was actually Coleman and Burita, but then they both got hurt.
So what does that mean?
No, I'm not saying. I'm just John. John is trying to be argumentative over the most dumbest thing ever. He's trying to prove a point that the reasons why the 49ers are where they're at is because Garoppolo. But I love John's convictions.
I'm not saying that.
John has always been the type of person that he's gonna ride it all the way, even if he's wrong. The 49ers have been the most incredible story in the NFL because of that extremely talented defense followed by the incredible running game. And the fact that Shanahan knows what he has in Garoppolo, that's why he tells him, you ain't throwing the ball no more. You only throwing the ball 5 to 6 times. You know what Garoppolo said? I'm okay with that as long as we're winning. I'm cool with that. That's leadership.
Hello.
That's leadership. But this whole comparison to Mahomes, come on, John. Shut up with that stuff, man.
Are you drinking the Mahomes Kool-Aid now?
Nope.
Okay, so what are you talking about, Chris? I feel like you don't even listen to what I'm saying. You have a narrative that you
I don't think you're listening to what you're saying either.
Fine.
I don't think you're listening to what you're saying either.
Like you're gonna get an argument out of me to say that the defense isn't good.
I've already won. I've successfully won. I got you even comparing Garoppolo to Brady to Mahomes, and you just sound ridiculous. When you watch this podcast, you're gonna go back and like, man, I sounded pretty retarded.
Yeah, just like I watched the podcast and I chose the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna look back on it and say, damn, I was right. No, not nowhere near would I think that, damn, I was wrong. Okay. Damn, I look stupid.
You got it, John.
Who were your picks? The Bears, right? The Bears didn't even make the playoffs. You did pick the Bears.
To go to the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Did I?
Yes.
Okay, then I picked the Bears.
You look stupid as fuck. So, at the end of the day, when you have Jimmy Garoppolo and Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to choose Jimmy Garoppolo. At this point, he's shown me what he can do, and he's shown me what he can't do. And for me, I'd rather have Jimmy Garoppolo over everybody at this point in the season, at this point of their career. Because he's only lost like a total of 5 games in his entire career. He's already been to Super Bowls, as a backup, but he has the experience. So, hey, man. We'll see in 2 weeks. I don't even know if I'm going to choose the 49ers. I don't know, but we'll see. Next week, I'll give you my pick.
He doesn't even know he's going to choose the 49ers? Wow. But if you were so feel that convicted by Garoppolo, you would automatically think, I mean, don't do that to the fans that watch the show, that you're not going to pick the 49ers, John.
Hey, man, I'm trying to build a little bit of...
No. You just called me stupid as fuck. I look stupid as fuck. Ironically, why you were looking stupid as fuck. But hey, let's move on from the stupidest fucks right here, since that's what you want to call it. And let's move on to somebody who's no longer the stupidest fuck, and that is McGregor. He won this week. Let's talk about McGregor, John.
All right. Anyways,
you picking Garoppolo against him too?
Yeah,
probably so.
Picking Garoppolo against him. Anyways, so.
Sorry, Khoa. I don't understand this guy.
Yeah, Conor McGregor defeats the Cowboy, Donald Cerrone. Man, it was just true fashion, 40 seconds. Unfortunately, a little too quick to see if actually Donald Cerrone would put up a better fight, but you can't take anything away from the man, Conor McGregor. He is the UFC, in my opinion, at this point. He is everything that the UFC needs in order to succeed. He is everything that any promoter would want in a fighter, to the point that Mayweather even asked for a rematch, essentially, in his IG post with a fake poster of McGregor Mayweather 2. So I'm happy for the sport. I'm happy for the man. It looks like he's getting his life back in order. Not to say that he was a bad guy, or he just had a couple hiccups. It looked like he was going the wrong direction. But Chris pointed out earlier that he stopped drinking for the 3 months leading up to the fight. So, it looks like he's going and getting his life back in order. Props to the man. UFC is back. Conor's back. Not that the UFC is back, but Conor's back, and that's always good for the UFC.
Khoa, you got an opinion on McGregor? I know you're.
It was a good showing. I predicted him to win. I don't know about 40 seconds, but I think he had a game plan, and man, he rocked him early. That little shoulder move. I don't know if I've actually seen that.
Kind of like your shoulder move when
before.
you were dancing this weekend. Like, pop.
I don't know.
I saw you.
I don't know if I've seen that being done before, but I think that was like the single thing I think that was like most effective. It really rocked him from the beginning, and then he never really caught his balance after that. And then credit to Conor though, because those strikes were looking clean. I think he cleaned up his striking game, even though he already did have a good striking game, but looked like Cerrone never really stood a chance after from the get-go. So, yeah, looks like he's back, man.
So what's next? I mean, obviously Dana White is already saying that there needs to be a rematch between him and Khabib, but is that based off the fact that Khabib defends and wins his title? Because if Khabib loses, I mean, do you still, to Tony Ferguson, do you still have it Khabib and McGregor for a rematch? Because I just feel like it has that much more weight if there's a championship involved.
Yeah, but I don't see it ever losing appeal of them having a rematch. Of course, if there's a belt involved, it makes the stakes that much higher. So that's going to be probably, I feel like, the agenda or whatnot, the outcome that the UFC is going to push for. And I think they look at it right now, like Dana White looks at it and says, like, a couple of things can happen. And depending on the results, we could spin each one either way. Because that's what they do. They sell fights. So depending on the results of one fight, they're gonna figure out a way to sell it. Whether this happens the next fight or 2 or 3 fights down. But McGregor, I think a good thing from, I guess, the standpoint of like Dana is that McGregor looks like he's back to the point where it's not just going to be, oh man, this has to be the next fight. He could probably wait a fight or two. He looks healthy enough, and he looks like he's found a new love of the sport and a new a regimen of training, and he's like a new person.
He looked good at 170.
Yeah, so I think that whether, like I said, whether it comes sooner than later, I think it's going to happen. Hopefully not way past anybody's prime. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it's going to.
Well, he said he wants to fight at least 2 more times this year, 3 more times if best this year alone. I mean, we already got the Usman and Masvidal that he's talked about fighting. I know interesting that Masvidal had this crazy little outfit on. It looked like it was a robe that he was trying to make fun of McGregor with. And then Usman is almost trying to bait him into fighting him. Usman out of everyone is interesting to me because Usman's been pretty dominant in his division, but at the same time he really hasn't been truly like tested. I will say this though, for somebody who's not known to have a punching power, he sure did knock what's his face broke his jaw. So I don't know. I kind of want to see before the whole Khabib fight. I kind of want to see them take on Masvidal and Usman maybe.
Well, okay, so the way it stands is, I think in March, the Tony Ferguson and Khabib fight is going to happen.
Tony doesn't back out. Happens.
Conor McGregor doesn't think it's going to happen at all. When is it going to happen? When is it going to?
April 18th.
Is that because of and I like I said, I'm not too familiar with Tony Ferguson. I just know that he's never truly gotten a fair chance. But I also was reading that there's been times when Tony Ferguson has just had a lot of issues of being able to make fights. Is that correct?
Well, both of them pulled out twice, so they tried to schedule the fight, I think 4 times in total, and it never happened. But then the last time that they scheduled the fight, it was actually where Tony Ferguson tripped over a cable. He was doing an interview at the Fox Studios, and he tripped over a cable and tore up damn near every ligament in his knee.
That damn.
It's a cursed fight, and at the end of the day, right now when we look at it, I give the nod and the edge to Nurmagomedov, not because I think that Tony Ferguson is actually not as good or not even better, but he's coming off of a severe injury, whereas Khabib really hasn't. I think the only way Khabib fights Conor McGregor is actually through I can't say his name, Usman, who is the champion at 170. The reason I say that is because Khabib actually wants him to fight 10 times before he fights him, which is kind of dumb. Kamaru Usman. So that was his name, the champion from 170. So the only way to get Khabib to actually fight Conor McGregor, because he says he doesn't want money, he says he has all the money he needs, and it's all about respect. And Conor McGregor, the way that they went head to head, he completely disrespected him, his boss, and his wife and his religion. The only way I would see Khabib wanting to fight him is if he brought a championship belt to the ring. The problem is, man, 170 is 170. It's different to have 2 fighters that usually fight at 155 to fight at 170 than actually fighting somebody that has to go down to 170. Conor McGregor had to go up to 170. Kamaru Usman is not going up to 170. He's going down. He's losing quite a bit of weight. So when they actually get into the ring, it's not going to look like anything like Cowboy. I don't see a method to get to fight Khabib again unless he has a championship. And you know what? Not to say that Kamaru Usman isn't a bad man, but who's to say that what's his name? MMA Jesus, the guy that was in the robe. Masvidal. Who's to say Masvidal doesn't fight Kamaru Usman and beats him? And then you got your championship fight right there.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that Masvidal beats Usman, because now they're talking about fighting, and then Masvidal takes on Conor McGregor, and now Masvidal will put the middleweight as well as the baddest motherfucker belt.
There you go.
And then if Conor McGregor finds a way to knock Masvidal's crazy ass out, then he can say, look, I have this belt and the baddest motherfucker belt. And you know what I think is ridiculous is that Khabib has a boss. His name is Dana White. So if Dana White says you got to fight him, you got to fight him. He's either that or give up your belt. You know what I mean? And I'd rather that not happen. But I just want that fight to happen so much because I really like the idea of McGregor fighting Khabib in Russia. I think that should be pretty sick, and I think that it'd be like.
Oh, that's never gonna happen.
He's already said he wants it to happen.
Yeah, but Dana White said no.
Man, that would be so cool, man.
They would kidnap that fool so quick.
Well, he's been to Russia a couple of times already.
Yeah.
He respects. Like he said before, I respect Russia and I respect Russians. I just don't respect Khabib.
Right.
And this history goes beyond. And I was trying to explain this to my wife that, like, although McGregor took things to the extreme, this beef has been going on way before the busting. And then, people need to don't get him.
It was a real beef, though.
Khabib ain't an innocent person. He's done some bad stuff.
Yeah.
He's a shady character. Like I said, never trust people who fight baby bears. It's just ridiculous. I put on record, man. Who fights baby bears? Where's PETA for this shit, man? Come on.
That would be the ultimate little mini tournament in our head to lead Khabib Conor McGregor. I think besides Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, there isn't a bigger fight. So I did want to bring up something real quick at the end because I think it's important. We brought up mental health. One, you saw Delonte West and this unfortunate images that have come up with Delonte West as far as, him looking pretty bad on the highway, getting beat up and stomped out. For somebody to come and, be an NBA basketball player, and from all accounts, he's had plenty of opportunities, but never got the requisite help that he needs. It's a sad sight, if you haven't seen it. After the beating he took, and the cop just pulled him over and asked him about it, and he's just belligerent at this point. I don't know what he needs. Maybe Chris, you can expound on it, but he looks like he's in bad shape, man, and it's one of the worst situations I've seen that a player hasn't taken their life, but it.
My question to you is today I went to a elementary school to talk to some parents about the importance of mental wellness, and had not only parents but teachers, and I'm gonna ask the same question that I ask everybody: when's the last time that your job asked you how you were doing mentally? John, when's the last time your job asked you how you were doing mentally? Paul, when's the last time your job? See, that's the problem that I have is there's no mental health days. No one really makes the effort. There's EAP that's usually offered that you can go secretly find a therapist or a psychiatrist if you're having any issues, right? But pretty much you're on your own if you're dealing with any type of mental health crisis, whether you've been diagnosed or you haven't been diagnosed. And we find that even more so in sports. We have both, I would say both, Major League Baseball to NFL, all the way to the NBA, where chemical dependency and mental illness is not addressed. It's not an open forum. It's not something we're talking about. Listen, fame and fortune is a lot for people to deal with. If you've had any type of traumatic experiences in your life, usually that's what ends up creating some type of mental illness. And when you have somebody that hasn't known with Delonte West, and you look at his backstory, when he comes from a troubled home, he comes from a place where we don't know how many people in his household had any type of illness. I know he was diagnosed with bipolar in 2008. You give him fame, you give him fortune, and then if he's not mentally taken care of, if he's not on his medication, then there's a complete downward spiral. And from what it looks like, I know in 2016 was wandering homeless here in Houston at a Whataburger. There was footage of that. The NBA knew about this, and my question is what is the NBA doing to help this man? It shouldn't get to this extreme to help. It shouldn't get to the extreme where, instead of the NFL going out and embracing and helping those athletes who have brain damage from years of football, they're trying to hide the ideal of there being an actual epidemic of brain damage. Instead of sitting here and banning Ron Artest from going into the stands, somebody who was already known to have bipolar, why don't you use him as a spokesperson for mental illness in the NBA? The thing is that when it boils down to whether you're an NBA player, whether you work at Methodist or you work for Houston HISD, no one's asking us how we are doing mentally. The world is tough. People go through things, and anything can possibly trigger something that could cause you to become depressed, could cause you to all of a sudden have a manic breakdown. And I think it's just a really, really sad story. And I think for me, like I told those parents today, we have to just do a better job of talking about mental wellness. Maybe we change the words and stop saying mental illness because illness seems forever, or mental illness seems like it's such a negative, title. But always just say mental wellness because we're all going through things. Some people are going through things more. Delonte West. But we need to do a better job of helping each other within the community and speaking on it and not feeling shamed. How much better would you feel in society if the word bipolar was not looked upon the way it is? When somebody is erratic or someone has a bad day or someone's moody, the first thing people want to say is, "Oh, he's bipolar."
I'm not gonna lie. When I see it, I want to get away from it so quick because I feel like they're not medicated. They're not going through what they need to do, or they're not being diagnosed. And I'm just like, nah.
And the thing about it is most people who are dealing with mental illnesses, like say something like schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder or bipolar, yes, they're going to have to be on medications. But like any, like diabetic, asthma, HIV, cancer, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, right? But why don't we treat patients who have cancer and diabetes, like why don't we, like the way we treat them with compassion and empathy, why don't we treat the same people who have mental illness? We don't do that.
Right.
We're quick to turn our faces or turn our heads and walk away, or quick to call someone crazy, or they got issues. They listen.
I wonder what kind of therapy sessions they provide for the NBA, NFL. I wonder if something like, we're seeing something like the deterioration of Delonte West, and unfortunately we didn't know at the moment, but we saw basically the deterioration of Aaron Hernandez. If you got to see the documentary, it was a tough watch, man. It was just you saw somebody that had obviously gone through things, and that attributed to his mental state. And I don't know, man. I don't know if football could have helped in some way, or just being able to recognize something like that, as opposed to when he comes to you. The owner apparently came to the owner and said he wanted to get traded away because he was fearing for his life. And instead of and I know nobody knows at the time, but instead of finding the help they needed, him, they almost just helped him out to be more secluded and gave him an apartment to away from home to I guess get over his demons or
escape or hide or whatever it may be. I think the Aaron Hernandez and the Delonte West is just two stories of many stories that are going on. A lot of the football players, a lot of the NBA players, when we've had a couple of suicides, and we don't talk about it, we don't bring it up, we don't make it. Every year I get sick and tired, and by all means I'm not disrespecting this cause, but every year I get so sick and tired of the NFL doing this whole breast cancer campaign. When you have because you have breast cancer shouldn't be something that's the only focal point. The fact that you have other diseases, you have football players who have committed suicide. Seau was Junior Seau.
Yeah, Junior Seau.
He actually killed himself, but shot himself in his chest just so they can see his brain. That's reasons why he did that, because he knew something was wrong. He kept telling everybody something was wrong. We've had a couple NBA players over the last 15 years that have committed suicide, got caught up in depression, and one of them actually played for the Houston Rockets, and ended up shooting himself in the head on a railroad track a couple years back. The thing is that when these events happen, we shouldn't just put it under the rug. We need to bring this out in a forum, in an open, where this becomes a focal point.
Right.
I get so frustrated because sometimes it feels like I'm fighting a cause that nobody wants to be a part of. We're all affected by mental illness, and we need to do a better job, like I said, and I don't want to keep harping on it, but we need to do a better job looking out for our loved ones, our people in our community. And just because you're an athlete of some sort doesn't mean that you can't succumb to mental illness. What I saw with Delonte West, it shouldn't be that way. And I think that I hope that maybe just kind of sparks, I guess, an awakening with the NBA, and they do something to push a mental health. Like, I want to see a mental health month. We have a Black History Month. We have a breast cancer month. I want to see a mental health month in sports.
Yeah.
I think it's something that we need to do. And I think what better way to get people from having so many stigmas and having these predetermined stereotypes on mental health than having your favorite player like LeBron James, who I've been seeing on my phone, talk about the importance of meditation because it helps you mentally. How about you come on and talk about, you know what? We need to do a better job for our players who are struggling with depression, who are struggling with other disorders, PTSD, et cetera, et cetera. I want to see that happen in the NBA. I want to see that happen in all sports. Matter of fact, I just want to see it happen in general. That's all I gotta say about that.
Very good. No, you bring up a good point. Again, this is the Sports Trap Podcast. My name is John Trapp, Christopher Seabard Rodriguez, and Mr. Khoa. Hey, I just want to bring up something real quick. Tonight, I kind of want to apologize to my man, Christopher Seabard Rodriguez. I said something I shouldn't have said. I took things a little too far, and something that I think that was out of character. Me and Chris have been best friends for, I don't know, going on 20 plus years at this point. But, you know, I think that when somebody messes up, they need to first address it. Second of all, apologize to the person that they did it to. And the apology has to be as loud as the disrespect. So, Christopher Seabard Rodriguez, I am sorry for talking to you out of your name. Something that, you know, as a person, me, I don't respect that out of me, and I'll make sure that never happens again. You have my sincerest apologies, and yeah, man, never mean to cause you harm, or you and me go back and forth all day, every day, and this is truly important to me. I never want to disrespect that, you or Khoa. So again, my sincerest apologies.
Well, I accept your apology, although I wasn't hurt by it. But since we're in apology, I'm going to go ahead and apologize for being disrespectful to the greatest quarterback, Garoppolo. I deeply apologize for that.
All right, man, you're going to get me hype again. I don't want to go that route no more.
Hey, listen, Astros, see how easy it is? See how easy it is? You just, when you do wrong,
That's all you had to do.
when you do wrong, you just apologize. Look, I'm a fan now. I'm a fan again. I'm a fan of John Trapp and the podcast. See how easy it is?
Chris is going to listen again.
I'm going to listen again.
All right, fellas. This is a good show, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like I had a blast. This is one for the ages. So, Houston, stand up, be proud. I know it's been a tough week, but man, we're a tough mother effing city. So, you know, we'll get over this, and we've gone through different solutions of how this can work. So, don't worry. I really believe that we'll get over this and get on to the next step.
Yeah, we still have HBU, we still have the Cougars, and we still have Rice University. So you never know, right? St. Thomas, they have a good basketball
All right. This has been the Sports Trap Podcast, and I'm out. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.